Hello James, hello everyone. Myself Priyanka Thapa, and here I'm going to present an essay on collaborative partnerships with families and communities in Australian early childhood education and care. First of all, I'm sorry because my voice is not good. I'm not feeling well. That's why. But still, I will try my best. Okay, let's continue. In this essay, I will argue that powerful and respectful relationships with families and communities form the foundation of inclusion, learning, and development of early childhood education and care. In Australian context, it is not simply a matter of it being nice to have, it is a professional and policy requirement in the early years of learning framework and the national quality framework. These frameworks highlight the importance of educators operating in authentic partnership with families and the larger community, and with different voices shaping curriculum choices. To start with, I would like to define collaborative partnerships both with families and with the broader community, and the way these partnerships support the inclusion, learning, and growth of children within Australian early childhood centers. I will next describe the advantages of family and community involvement and come up with recommendations on how services can build, nurture, and sustain such successful unions using research and literature. So, we might as well begin. Understanding the topic. Collaborative partnership. Collaborative partnerships are continual mutual relationships through which educators, children, families, other professionals, and community members communicate, make decisions, and take responsibility in respect to children learning and well-being. EYLF version 2 presents the discipline of partnerships as a principle of learning outcomes more likely to occur when instructors cooperate with the family, with children and communities, including the school. It notes ethics, cultural safety, e-safety, trauma-informed practice, and authentic involvement in curriculum choices. Such collaborations are central to fostering diversity, while children with a variety of backgrounds, abilities, cultural and language backgrounds are accepted and feel appreciated. By interacting meaningfully with families, educators become aware of the cultural identities of children, languages spoken at home, and family priorities so that responsive and culturally safe practices address diversity in honoring it. They serve as foundations to learning and development as well. The quality of development during the early years is profound, especially where learning contexts involve networks between the home and service. Even the ecological systems theory developed by Brenner reminds us how children grow in various systems such as immediate family, early childhood care and services, community, etc. When those systems interface and line up via common understanding and goals, children profit cognitively, linguistically, socially, and emotionally. For instance, when teachers gain knowledge of a child's interest or routines of family, they can inform curriculum that spans across two worlds, supporting at a deeper learning level. Benefits of family and community engagement. Now, with respect to the benefits of such engagement, we can look at this under a child centered approach and a system centered approach. Benefits for children. Improved learning performance. Family involvement in the learning process leads to better performance as learning outcomes have been demonstrated to be better when the family is in one way or other involved. Higher sense of belonging. Belonging is beyond presence, it is emotional and social belonging. Children in a non judgmental environment in which they and their families feel accepted and esteemed will demonstrate improved confidence, self concept, and ability to cooperate in a social setting. Continuity of learning. When learning expectations coincide between families and services, the children can experience stability in the continuity of their learning, which enhances their learning efficacy and enforces security. Benefits for families and communities. Empowerment and ownership. Engagement makes families feel empowered by taking their voices, knowledge, and choices into account and respecting their cultural strengths. This would bring about a feeling of ownership and trust in the early childhood service. Cultural exchange and inclusion. It is recommended that community involvement, including visits by local cultural groups, facilitate two-way cultural exchange, broadening the popular learning environment to all the children and promoting intercultural support. Increased social networks. Family functions and community affiliations create social capital, that informal support network that is preferable to well-being and resilience in families. Advantages to teachers and services. Enhanced practice. Family learning can be used as a source to call out the concepts about diverse backgrounds in the minds of educators, forcing them to become reflective and responsive to pedagogy. Shared responsibility. The responsibility to teach children with can be shared. The educators and the families become partners that work together instead of practitioners who work separately. Quality and sustainability of services. The act of listening and adapting services to the communities intensifies the reputation, relevancy, and viability of services in the long run. Application to practice. How to build, foster, and sustain productive partnerships. At this point, it's time to engage in a discussion of practical research and policy informed recommendations on possible ways to set up, promote, and sustain quality partnerships with communities and families through early childhood services. Establishing partnerships, establish hospitable settings. The physical surrounding and the greeting should give the service the indication of friendliness and cultural awareness. This may consist of signage using community language, lax visiting and entry routines, and entry procedures that are friendly to families. Conduct home visits or casual community meetings. Informal home visits or community get together are the initial meetings in which educators get a chance to see the family in familiar environment, hear their values, routines, and desires. These earns early trust. Engagement of families in the development of curriculum. During enrollment, utilize flexible forms of enrollment like All About Me forms or parent interviews to receive holistic information such as cultural background, languages, interests, and get the families involved in curriculum planning. Second, encouraging partnerships by communication methods. Use several two-way methods of communication such as in-person conversations, telephone calls, translated newsletters, and online portfolios. The important thing here is reciprocity, where parents are both informed and encouraged to give feedback and input. Co-constructed curriculum. Engage families and community members in further development of curriculum like teach traditions, share stories, songs or skills. These acknowledges cultural diversity and introduces some balance to the program regarding the home life of children. Family participation in events. Hold on non demanding, no barrier activities such as family fun days, language mornings, cultural celebration days. Not only are these social, but they demonstrate families as important stakeholders in the learning space of children. Community partnerships. Contact local businesses, libraries, health services, cultural groups, or senior organizations. Linkages like visits to the library, community gardening programs, or involving guest storytellers enrich the curriculum as well as cementing the bond with the surrounding community. Maintaining partnerships, continued responsiveness, and respect. Demonstrate that family feedback is not ignored by following through, responding to suggestions, and accommodating routines. This develops confidence and a real sense of continuity. Reflective practice. Establish an ongoing reflection and assessment of the partnership strategies, what was done right, what was wrong. Use feedback about the family, which can be provided through surveys or a reflection discussion to adjust and become better. Professional development. Professional development includes training the educators with cultural competence, communication and trauma informed training and strategies on how to engage families. Educators with confidence make better collaborators. Report and publicize partnership achievements. Keep portfolios, displays, or newsletters of how family or community contributions have impacted learning outcomes. This exposure confirms the importance of collaborations. Now let's go to literature grounding and research. Let me weave in more explicit referencing. The ecological system theory of Bronfenbrenner can be used to conceptualize the valuable reason as to why interacting with both families and community can tangibly integrate the development of children holistically. The works of Dockett and Perry highlight the need of educators to know the family and the surrounding community to practice inclusive and responsive pedagogy. The authors put an emphasis on active practices such as home visit, unrestricted communication, and importance of family knowledge. The article by Roos and Clark demonstrates that high quality family educator connections enhance inclusion and support multicultural knowledge and enhance developmental outcomes. The existence of a correlation between family involvement in the learning process and the children having language, social, and cognitive advantages is documented by Dockett Perry and Kearney in 2012. Author and Villeneuve Smith discuss how sharing of cultures in services will enrich and create cross cultural understanding and inclusion. Eliot in 2015 highlights how early childhood services can become bridges to community social networks, fostering stronger family support systems. Reflective and responsive approaches to sustaining family engagement and family significance to continuity are discussed. Policy documents such as Australian Government National Quality Standard and Early Childhood Frameworks all focus on partnerships with the family and the community as key to quality. Policy and frameworks EYLF V2 2012 and 2023. 2022 and 2023. According to the principal partnerships, learning can best occur when teachers collaborate with children, parents, other professionals, and communities. It demands culturally safe practice, ethical decision making with families, regard to e-safety, and trauma informed practice. It also points to the continuity of learning and co constructed curriculum. NQF or NQS Quality Area 6. Standard 6.1 of Quality Area 6 requires respectful relationships, family participation in decision making, valuing family expertise, and shared decision about learning and well being. Exceeding services illustrate practice influenced by substantial connection to families or community. Experience with peer or public interaction. Two lessons that I learned in developing a reflective blog and planning peer to peer activities are families appreciate being clear on how their knowledge leads to changes in practice, and a display of the trail of impact creates trust. Community partnerships are thriving where there is a named licensed community connector of continuity in the local association with groups. Finally, it's now come to the conclusion. In summary, strong partnerships with families and communities are key to the inclusion of children, learning, and development. They bring sense, cultural diversity, stability, identity, and collective responsibility. The benefits flow outwards. Children, in turn, benefit academically, socially, and on a personal level. Families feel empowered and in touch. Educators become professional and better focused on service to create, motivate, and ensure these relationships. Services out to begin with trust through welcoming conditions, enrollment, and home visits. Communicate back and forth in a variety of ways, such as engage families in the development of curriculum, routines, and events. Access the local resources, think, act, and educate teachers, celebrate and share victories of collaboration. These actions enable true collaborative relationships to flourish for early childhood services in Australia, where family, community, and educators join with children to ensure inclusion, learning, and flourishing. Thank you for listening.